everyone, and thank you for joining me today for some learning. We are going to be ordering fractions today. So let's get started straight away with an example. So I'm going to take three different fractions. I've got 2/5, I've got 4/5, and 1/5. And I want to order these from the smallest to the biggest. Now I can see each of these fractions are divided up into 5 parts because the denominator is 5. And that makes it nice and easy for us to know which order they go in, because I can see that 1/5 is smaller than 2/5 or 4/5, so I know it's the smallest. But if we weren't sure, we could draw a picture or we could make the fraction. So I'm going to show you that just now. So here we are looking at the fraction which is purple Lego. So I have 2/5, I have 4/5, and I have 1/5. So I can easily see that the 1/5 is the smallest, then the 2/5, and then the 4/5 is the biggest. But what do I do if that denominator isn't the same? The number at the bottom of my fraction, my denominator, is different. Let's have a look at an example. So this time I've got 1/2, I've got 3/4, I've got 7/12, and I've got 2/3. I couldn't guess by looking at them which is the biggest or which is the smallest. So one way we could figure it out is by drawing a picture or making the fractions. So let's look at that method first of all. So I've got my half, I'm looking at the red Lego for this example. Then I've got my 3/4, I've got 7/12, and I've got 2/3. So when we compare the red sections, I can see that the biggest amount of red is in our 3/4. So this time let's order them from biggest to smallest. So the biggest amount of red is the 3/4. Then I can see next would be our 2/3. Then we need to compare them really carefully. 7/12 is slightly bigger. And then our smallest amount of red is in our half. So I can compare them because I've made the fractions. But what would I do if those denominators were even bigger? If they were in 30ths or 40ths? I need to find another way that I can compare them without having to draw them or make them, because 30ths or 40ths would be quite tricky to create, I think. So let's keep our numbers that we've got, those 4 fractions. Now the way we can compare them, like in the first example, is we need to have the same denominator at the bottom. So we need to find a common denominator. So we need to find a number which 2, 4, 12 and 3 all can divide equally into. And it's just like making our equivalent fractions. I know that 2, 4 and 3 can all divide equally into 12. So I can have my 12 as my common denominator at the bottom. So let's make our equivalent fractions. So 1/2, to turn it into 12ths, I've times by 6. So 1 times 6 is 6. To turn our 3/4 into 12ths, I have times by 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. Our 7/12 stays the same. It's got its 12ths at the bottom already. And then our 2/3, to turn it into 12ths, I've multiplied by 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. And let's just check from our previous example, the biggest one we had before was our 3/4, and we can still see that it's the biggest, it's 9/12. Then we had our 2/3, which is next, which is our 8/12. Then we had our 7/12, and then the smallest one was our half, or 6/12. Let's try another example which has some trickier denominators. So this time I have got 5/8, I'm going to have my half, 7/16, and 28 32nds. So I need to find a common denominator, a number which each of these denominators, 8, 2, 6, and 32, can divide into equally. And for this one, I can use the common denominator of 32. I know that 8, 2 and 16 all divide equally into 32. So let's make our equivalent fractions. So 5/8, if I want to turn it into 30 seconds, I know that 8 times 4 gives me 32. So I'm timesing the bottom number by 4 times my top number by 4. 5 times 4 is 20. Then my half. To turn my half into 30 seconds, I have timesed by 16. So 1 times 16 is 16, so that gives me 16 30 seconds. Then my 7/16, if I want to change that into 30 seconds, I'm going to multiply by 2, so 7 times 2 is 14. And then my 28 30 seconds just stays the same. So if I wanted to order them from the smallest to the biggest, which one comes first? So I can look at my numbers, my equivalent fractions, to check. So I've got 20 30 seconds, 16 30 seconds, 14 30 seconds, and 28 30 seconds. I can see that this one is my smallest number. So the smallest fraction is 7/16. Then the next one, if I was ordering them from smallest to biggest, would be my 16 30 seconds, which is our half. Then we've got this one here, our 20 30 seconds, which is our 5/8. And then our biggest fraction is our 28 30 seconds. Remember, when we order them at the end, we put them back into their original form, the form which we were given them in. So not using the equivalent fraction forms, we're using that to help us order them, but we're ordering them with the original fractions. I hope you have enjoyed learning with me today and have learned something new. As always, if you have any questions or anything else you would like to learn about, please just leave me comments in the section below. Thank you, bye-bye.